Nikaya 3 refuges, Buddham Saranam Gacchami,
Buddham Saranam Gacchami,
Dhammam Saranam Gacchami,
Dhammam Saranam Gacchami,
Sangham Saranam Gacchami.
Sangham Saranam Gacchami.
I take refuge in Buddha.
I take refuge in Buddha.
I take refuge in Dharma.
I take refuge in Dharma.
I take refuge in Sangha.
I take refuge in Sangha.
The 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. This precious human life, rarely encountered, is easily lost. Now that I have life and opportunity, may I practice the Dharma wholeheartedly. Mahayana refuge. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. Invocation of the lineage. I give thanks for the guidance of my teachers, for the lineage of teachers before them. I give thanks and offerings for their devoted practice of generosity, moral discipline, patience, joyful effort, concentration, wisdom, skillful means, unshakable vow, spiritual powers, and awakened awareness for my benefit. May their years of life be lengthened. May their vows be completely realized. May I cultivate these perfections with their guidance. 7 practices of the Bodhisattva. I bow down in body, speech, and mind. I offer the best I have to give, both real and imagined, to fill the space between us. I regret and purify all transgressions. I rejoice in all virtues. I request you to remain until total enlightenment. I request wise and compassionate guidance. I dedicate my merit for the sake of all beings. Generating love and compassion. May all sentient beings be free from clinging and hatred. Being close to some and distant from others, how wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from clinging and hatred. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them happiness and the causes of happiness. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from suffering and the causes of suffering. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings have the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from clinging, hatred, jealousy, miserliness, doubt, pride, wrong view, ignorance, and dualistic thoughts. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them to this state. Bless me to accomplish this. Please rise for the Heart Sutra. Great Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva practicing deep Prajna Paramita clearly saw that all 5 skandhas are empty, transforming all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness. Emptiness, no other than form. Form is exactly emptiness. Emptiness exactly form. sensation, consciousness are also like this. Shariputra, all things are essentially empty, not formed, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, without loss, without gain. Therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, object of thought, no seeing, and so on, to no thinking, no ignorance, and also no ending of ignorance, and so on, to no old age and death, and also no ending of old age and death, no suffering, cause of suffering, cessation, path, no wisdom, and no attainment, since there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva lives by prajna paramita, with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, and therefore no fear, far beyond elusive thinking. Right here is nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future live by prajna paramita, attaining Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Therefore know that prajna paramita is the great sacred mantra, the great vivid mantra, the unsurpassed mantra, the supreme mantra, which completely removes all suffering. This is truth, not mere formality. Therefore set forth the prajna paramita mantra. Set forth this mantra and proclaim Gate Gate Para Gate Arsam Gate Bodhi Svaha. Gate Gate Para Gate Arsam Gate Bodhi Svaha. Gate Gate Para Gate Arsam Gate Bodhi Svaha. Infinite realms of light and dark convey the Buddha mind. All that is and we ourselves come forth in perfect harmony. We offer this sincere and devoted practice for the many beings of the 6 worlds, and dedicated and grateful thanks to the strength and sound practice of the great Heartland Sangha and its teachers. May our virtuous actions be clear from all interferences, and may our vows be fully realized. We especially dedicate these merits to Veronica, Dwayne Jr., Caitlin, Maddie, and Adam for peace and healing, David Preston, Gloria, Sinead O'Connor, Vicky, and John at the time of their death, and those whose names we hold in the silence of our hearts, as well as those whose names we now voice aloud. May we live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma, and may we realize the Buddha way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattvas, Hey everyone, anyone who is going to Dharma school this morning, it's time to exit. And for the remainder of us, please be seated for Zazen. Please rise for Kinhin, our walking meditation. Counting from the center, when the clappers sound, the first and third rows will turn to the right, second and fourth to the left. We'll begin with a slow half-pace step, and when the clappers sound again, we'll resume a regular walking pace. We will now recite Sangha Covenant, which you can find in your liturgy book on page 8. We, the Daishin Kokuju Sangha, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at the wisdom and compassion we seek to cultivate by practice, and with deep gratitude for the teachers of this lineage and our connection to one another, covenant to support each other by upholding the precepts of doing no harm, practicing good, and actualizing good for others. Please be seated. Sit comfortably so that you can see the front of the room. And we will hear from our teachers today for Dharma talk. We have the special privilege of hearing from 2 of our instructors today, Reverend Kaishin and Reverend Shokai. Thank you.
I invite some of those folks in the back. If you're comfortable sitting on the mat, there's plenty of space up here closer to the top if you'd like to.
And no one wants to sit in these first 2 seats.
We will do the kata on opening the sutra also on page 8. Gata on opening the sutra. The Dharma incomparably profound and infinitely subtle is rarely encountered even in millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Thank you for being here. Welcome to Shuso's Sunday. This is the first time we have shared the high seat at Shuso's, so it's quite lovely. So the two Shusos, it sounds like a bad 60s folk group, doesn't it? But we'll hope to improve on that. So when Roshi asked us to do this talk together during the week, he threw out a perfectly wonderful topic. And one of us sighed, and I'm so sorry for that, Kaishan, that I did that. So he went to the library shelves, and he took down a book, and he threw it open to a page, and he said, give a talk on that. So that is what we're doing this morning. So we're giving a talk on a sutta from Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation of the Anguttara Nikaya, which is the numeric discourses of the Buddha, which I've never used before as a source, knowingly, anyway. Again, I'm sorry about this. But to contextualize this, because, for the nerds of us here, this is really interesting. In the ancient Buddhist tradition, the Theravadan tradition, there are what are called the three baskets of sacred texts, the Tripitaka. One is the Vinaya Pitaka, which is the monastic code. One is the Abhidharma Pitaka, which is detailed analysis of the suttas. So all those psychological lists are in there. And then there's the Sutta Pitaka, which is the basket of discourses. So we are in the basket of discourses this morning. And we are on the fourth of 5 collections of suttas. And the numerical discourses, there's several thousand suttas in there, divided up by the number of topics in a sutta. So the Book of Ones is a collection of suttas on one topic. The Book of Twos, a collection of suttas on a pair of topics, all the way up to 11. Suttas on 11 topics. Fortunately for us all here this morning, it fell open on the Book of Fives, so you won't be here till midnight. And this might seem very pedantic and arbitrary, this organization, but it actually wasn't, because the written word was not that common back then. Writing materials certainly weren't common. So this was a device for remembering. If you hit 3 points on your talk and you know it's from the Book of Fives, you know you're missing 2 of them, right? So it was really very useful. So let's actually read the sutta. Here it is. So from Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation of the Anguttara Nikaya, the numerical discourses of the Buddha, from the Book of Fives, Sutta 169.9. Of quick apprehension. When the Venerable Ananda approached the Venerable Shariputra and exchanged greetings with him, when they had concluded their greeting and cordial talk, he sat down to one side and said, "In what way, friend Shariputra, is a practitioner one of quick apprehension concerning the wholesome teachings, one who grasps well what they have learned, learns abundantly, and does not forget what they have learned. The Venerable Ananda is learned, so let him clear this up himself. Then listen, friend Shariputra, and attend closely. I will speak." "Yes, friend," the Venerable Shariputra replied. The Venerable Ananda said this, "Here, friend Shariputra, a practitioner is skilled in meaning, in the Dhamma, in language, in phrasing, and sequence." So those are the 5 things. "In this way, friend Shariputra, a practitioner is one of quick apprehension concerning wholesome teachings, one who grasps well what they have learned, learns abundantly, and does not forget what they have learned." So the practitioner understands the teachings when they're skilled in meaning, the Dharma, language, phrasing, sequence. And these are the skills that make one quick to apprehend.
I rather like, too, that Ananda comes forward and asks a question. And Shariputra immediately just says, Well, you're very learned. Please explain it to us. It feels like a move we'd encountered here. But this idea of meaning, this is very interesting because about 3 weeks ago we had that teaching retreat, and there's been this aspect of understanding our cognitive framework, which is such an important, but not as a common thing in a Zen community. You know, that idea of lived experience, direct experience, is right at the front of so much of what we do. But it's so good to look into the tradition and look at the frameworks that have been used to offer some guidance to create some sort of sense of what it is that we're encountering. And so when we look at this idea of meaning, one of the things that a practitioner should be quick to learn and remember, in essence, we're pointing back to the core meaning, the core teachings, which are contained in the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. You know, the nature of suffering, its creation, that it has a beginning, so it has an end, and that there is a path. And we get offered this path. We have a lot of people in here about to step into the study of this path through the gate of the precepts, or they have been, honestly. And also we have this offering of that Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right concentration, right mindfulness. It's, you know, it's a nice list of 4. Item number 4 is this new list of 8. And, you know, so things unfold a lot. But in essence, our direct experience, our lived experience in Zazen, and what we're pointed to in these core teachings is that need to see suffering and to understand the suffering that arises in us, that arises in other beings, that arises in the world. And all of these things, the precepts, the Eightfold Path, all the mechanisms, all the spiritual technology that we encounter in our training, they're attempts to answer this question: how do I live in a way that reflects this understanding of the nature of suffering? And there are so many expressions of this teaching, this very direct, singular, and core teaching, which, you know, in its many forms we refer to as the Dharma. The nature of the Dharma.
So the Dharma, this is a quote from Walpola Rahula, What the Buddha Taught, which is a great source text. He is a Theravadan monk and scholar, and this is what he has to say about Dhamma. Dhamma being the Pali word for Dharma. Typically, Pali refers to the Theravadan tradition, Sanskrit to the Mahayana, kind of. So Dhamma and Dharma are interchangeable. There is no term in Buddhist terminology wider than Dhamma. It includes not only the conditioned things and states, but also the non-conditioned, the absolute nirvana. There is nothing in the universe or outside, good or bad, conditioned or non-conditioned, relative or absolute, which is not included in this term. So that's rather a lot to talk about. So we have this vast range of meanings, right? From the cosmic natural law to the mundane. Dharma's plural refers to phenomenon. My finger is a dharma, Kaishan's glasses. My underlying sense of anxiety right now is a dharma. So all the contents of our lives and our habits of mind, every single one, dharmas. And dharma can specifically refer to the teachings of the Buddha that Reverend Kaishan just cited. But what's most important about dharma is that it is in essence experiential. You see the value of Zazen. This entire vast Dharma is in essence experiential. And of course, at the time of the Buddha, you would actually pack up your lunch and go to where the Buddha was teaching and sit on the grass under the blue sky, as the birds were singing, and listen to the teachings, the oral teachings, directly from the mouth of the Buddha. Totally experiential. So the Dharma is living truth. It's not dogma. I know we say that all the time. It's the underlying nature of things. It's how things actually are, the nature of reality, and it is the insight into that truth, too. It's the insight into the nature of reality. But it not only describes reality, right? It also prescribes how we act so that we are in harmony with the way things are, the Eightfold Path. This is how you live in harmony with the Dharma. Kodo Sawaki Roshi said, "What's the Buddha Dharma about?" He was a very direct, husky teacher. What's the Buddha Dharma about? It's about having every aspect of your daily life pulled by the Buddha. Having every aspect of your daily life pulled by the Buddha. So the Sutta Pitaka, the basket of sutras, has over 10,000 suttas in it. And you will not find the truth in any of them, because the truth is in your lives, your direct experience. And that is basically what we're doing here, is directly experiencing our lives. And of course, it's up to us how we engage that. Reverend Kaishan.
There's an aspect of looking at this moment of encountering direct experience, of course, that sounds really simple. Just be where you are and pay attention. And one of the things we tend to find is that that's not always the easiest thing. Not only our general attention, but what happens when it lags, what happens when we drift. And because of our own suffering, because of our own conditions, we do all sorts of things. We beat ourselves up internally, we blame all the, we blame the creaky door for the fact that we can't stay in Zazen, or the kids running around upstairs over our heads, or the like. Our minds are very, very good at pulling us away from the presence of this direct experience. And so one of these three things, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five, right? Book of Fives. One of these 5 things that comes in is this idea of sequence. How do we address this? What is the process and the path for encountering it? And there's all sorts of different ways to do it, and many bows to my teachers for the training matrix that they have found through their own practice and training, and that they have introduced and taught and adapted and found what works here, so that we have access to processes that we can work our way through to make our own minds more more centered, more aware and sensitive to what's arising right in front of us and what's coming at us from our peripheral that might tempt us away. And we start, right in the door, the first time someone comes here, beginning instruction. Settle the body, put the awareness in the center, count the breath, and then work through that issue of surprise and excuse for when the mind goes away, follows some thought, and just see it, acknowledge it, return to the breath. Like, relentlessly, boringly, forever, in a way, because we build that ability to be present to that Dharma of that moment. And then there are other tools. You know, we have everything you see around us, the process, the precepts, the training of Jukai, for those people who, who encounter Sesshin, which is its own exquisite and simple yet elaborate technology. The Shoken process for people who want to make that a primary practice for practicing with their teacher. The liturgy. Okay? Whether we know what we're doing when we bow or not, the embodied presence of that is communicating to us, it's teaching us. We can put a conceptual framework on it. We hear the phrase, we're lowering the staff of the ego. Cool. And whether we get that or not, there's this work that is unique to how it's affecting each of us as we engage with it, or not, just, go through the motions and, leave all this opportunity on the table. Cry for the missed chances. But all these things are there. They are things that guide us through the experiences that are described in these conceptual frameworks of meaning, dharma, sequence, language, and phrasing, of the 3 treasures, the 3 pure precepts, the 10 grave precepts. There's so much here to work through. And it's this beautiful series of joyous, mundane, golden, ordinary, miraculous tools. Just being with each other is one of them. The Sangha treasure itself. From a sequence, they tell us we have meaning, we have dharma, we have sequence, and then we have language and phrasing as a skill of the practitioner.
So language and phrasing, until I came to Zen, I really didn't understand the truth of language. That language is to humans as water is to fish. This is the sea we swim in, and we don't even see it. We don't see how it shapes and molds our world. A deer encounters a tree, sees a tree out there, and encounters it consciously. We put a thought about our experience of a tree into language, which is just symbol, and try to communicate that, not only to others, but to ourselves. But it can never be directly communicated, right? Because we're working with symbols. So I'm using these symbols, these words, of my experience of a tree to evoke an experience in you, which is never going to be the same experience. Tree, maybe we're not going to be that far apart. If I say the word summer to you, having grown up in a northern temperate climate, my conception of summer is going to be very different from yours. It's going to be very different from someone who lives in the Antarctic. There is so much, language is just so fraught with misunderstanding, and we actually have to see that. And that's not even to talk about the voice in our head that develops in early childhood. This voice that actually talked to myself, and this voice, this self to whom I attribute feelings and actions, who is that? But here I am still using language. So we basically describe and we create our world in language, and we describe and create ourselves In Zen, we're always being warned about the dangers of this, but the teaching goes way back to the time of the Buddha, who taught extensively on it. And his basic teaching was that words, these symbols we use, do not have fixed meanings. They always depend on the context. And the context he identified was who is speaking, who is listening, the tone of voice, the underlying assumptions and attitudes, and the situation in which the words are spoken. I don't know if he would add some things to that list given electronic communications that we now have. Maybe so, maybe not. But he was very careful in his own use of words. He had none of his discourses written down. He didn't instruct anyone to inscribe them. That was done long after his death. He actually spoke in discourse, in live words, in actually the process of language rather than the fixation of language. And he also used ordinary language. He didn't use any of the high Brahmic terms, the holy terms. He actually used language that Joe Soap could understand. So from the very beginning in Buddhism, the teaching is that language is not neutral. It is this amorphous vehicle for the self. And if we don't recognize that, there is such potential for suffering. Roshi always talks about live words that liberate themselves, live words that are not clung to. And you hear that all the time in Zen. Reverend Kaisha.
So, through meaning, dharma, sequence, language, and phrasing, in our sutta, these are held up as things one is skilled in. They asked, in what way, friend Shariputra, as a practitioner, one of quick apprehension concerning the wholesome teachings, one who grasps well what they have learned, learns abundantly, and does not forget what they have learned. And this was his answer. Meaning, dharma, sequence, language, and phrasing, that these are, in essence, yet another way of describing that which we learn. And we do learn them abundantly. We come back to them many times from many different angles, in many forms. Those of us, probably all of us, in some form of our own development in life has encountered this. But in the Dharma, if you've been around to study for a while, you've had that experience where something is said that you have heard 1,000 times, but now the place you are in this moment and the way it is said to you, all of a sudden it strikes. It hits different. And in those moments, we grasp well what we have learned. I love that the last thing is, and does not forget what they have learned. I feel like that's progressive in the sequential. It's like maybe we do forget, or at least we fall away from it. But when we continue to study, when we continue to practice, it comes back to us a lot faster, a lot quicker. Go back to the Zazen, first thing in the door. At the beginning, we can get lost in a discussion that the entire period is gone before we realized we're in it. And it's along the way and late in the path, that can still happen. But we can also develop these skills as a practitioner to the point where we start to see it coming, where we can redirect our energies to our focus on the breath, noticing even just the pull of the gravity of that thought that we would normally chase.
So this week I sat with this sutta because I'm always a slow boil. That's just the way my mind works. But also in my heart was very much the death and life of Sinead O'Connor. She was a woman, she was about 10 years younger than me, so she grew up on the tail end of the Ireland I grew up in, where women's lives were shame-based, where mental illness was not even talked about, and where children had no voice. And she was definitely a woman of quick apprehension, who in the midst of her suffering and confusion, which was great, spoke truth. And she spoke truth to power, and maybe not everyone thought she did it in the most skillful way, but it took enormous courage for her to do what she did. And nothing she said was untrue, as we discovered years later. We discovered the vastness of what she was talking about. Probably none of us had even an inkling of the damage that was being done. And what I remember a scene, I think it was Madison Square Gardens, where she was standing up in front of thousands of people, and they were all booing her and ridiculing her. She was a kid, and she just stood there and took it. She just stood there and took it. And she kept, throughout the rest of her life, speaking that truth. So I think her words do kind of express ultimately what apprehension is about meaning, the Dharma, connection. It's all the work of the heart. It's all love. And if it isn't, then we're not understanding it correctly. So I would just like to end with some live words of love from her. This is a song of forgiveness to her mother, who abused her with unimaginable cruelty. It's just incomprehensible how a mother could treat a child the way she treated her children. And it's also a song about the forgotten children, a promise to those children who are suffering in that way, that they are seen. So this is to mother you, Sinead O'Connor. This is to mother you, to comfort you and get you through when your nights are lonely, through when your dreams are only blue. This is to mother you. This is to be with you, to hold you and to kiss you too. For when you need me, I will do what your own mother didn't do, which is to mother you. All the pain that you have known, all the violence in your soul, all the wrong things you have done, I will take from you when I come. All mistakes made in distress, all of your unhappiness, I will take away with my kiss. Yes, I will give you tenderness. For my child, I am so glad I found you, although my arms have always been around you. Sweet bird, although you did not see me, I saw you, and I am here to mother you, to comfort you, and get you through when your nights are lonely, through when your dreams are only blue. This is to mother you. May she rest in peace.
Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Thank you, everyone. Are there any announcements today? I imagine we probably have at least one or two.
My name is Eric. This morning, a woman came and talked with me out on the sidewalk. Her name was Susan. She came from an organization called Veterans for Peace. She was coming with information about, and there's some flyers out on the table by the front door, about an event that's going to be happening at the Promenade Docks from the 10th to the 13th of this month. A ship is going to be sailing in, which was built in 1958 to head to, I believe, the Mariana Islands, where they were testing nuclear bombs to protest the atmospheric testing of the nuclear bombs. And it was intercepted by the Coast Guard, and the crew was jailed to keep them from that. So once the testing was over, the ship sailed back to California, where it sunk at the dock. And 10 years ago, they raised that ship from the seafloor and have been restoring it over the last 5 years. And it's doing a circuit around the states here, and will be at the dock for about 4 days. So they're hosting an event there. It's all about bringing a ban to nuclear weapons, because I think we can all agree that there's some fairly regrettable suffering that comes from these things. So if you're interested, there are some flyers out on the front table there. So thank you.
Jukai session starts tomorrow night and tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. If anybody has time and availability, we'll be setting up and preparing the space and doing some pre-cooking work. So everybody is welcome to come anytime between 1 and 6 tomorrow.
Hi, my name is Bujo. There are a few students from a UT World Religions course here today, I think, and I know you have some questions to ask. So Reverend Shokai has kindly offered to, if you can have a quick chat with her after. So she was just talking, that's Shokai. So you can see her after. And also, whoever did media today, please come see me. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
All right, meal will be served afterwards. Please restore the Zendo. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll look at it. Oh, is it you?
Did it get streamed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to. Oh, this is the janky one. Thing. Test. Test. Is the mic popping?
Yeah.
It is.
Because it should be there, it should be back. It should be back, like this, like it's where the placement of the mic should be. Is,
How is this? Is this better? Is it I'm talking, beings are numberless, I vow to
That is
free
better.
them. Maybe I take refuge in Buddha. I'm testing the microphone. I'm trying to see if it's popping. I think it was probably too close to her mouth. That was the problem. Yep. Okay.
you turn it off? Yes. Turn them off. Thank you. I thought somebody, I wondered, who turned those off?
Well, and I didn't know who was doing it, and I didn't know if it was like a movie and they might freak out and turn it back on.
Yeah, no, it was me. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Say sibilance.
Siblings.
No, sibilance.
Sibilants.
It's good. It sounds
Sibilants.
fine. Sounds great.
Okay. I don't know why. Gosh, why this? I don't think this one. It seemed like this one was doing it, but it might not.
Yeah.
It might have just been Shokai breathing.
So we need to make sure that people have it placed correctly and are using the clip to not wait this juncture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. That's an easy fix.
Mm-hmm.